How to create the best client experience. Everyone talks about how to build a perfect lead list, how to write the copy, the targeting, but no one actually talks about fulfilling for your client. Obviously, fulfilling for your client is the most crucial thing, because if you can't fulfill for clients, then your business is going to die out. So that's why in today's video, I'm going to walk you through step by step how to make sure that your clients have the best client experience and how you can actually get them results. If you don't know me, my name is Anthony, founder here at Velocity Flow. We're a B2B lead gen agency specializing in hyper-personalized cold email, where we sent just over 1 million emails and booked hundreds of meetings, not just on our behalf, but on our clients' behalf as well. And the most important thing for us is making sure that our clients have the best experience while working with us. So in today's video, I'm going to walk you through step by step how to make sure that your clients are getting the best possible experience. All right, so there are 8 main principles that I want to touch on here, as well as we have an A through H outline that I'm going to touch on there. And then just to start off, I'm going to go ahead and show some results that we were able to generate from a client that we actually just signed. We started sending on Monday. It is Thursday at the moment, so this is like a 3-day-old campaign. As you see here, and I'll walk you guys through it, but as you see here, we're doing a bunch of testing. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different angles that we're testing, different copy, trying to see what works, what resonates with the market, and what's actually moving the needle the most. So as you see here, we have a 4% reply rate on this one and almost a 4% on this one, which is super good for cold email. Interested reply rate 13% and 10%, could definitely be improved, but not bad. 17 interested responses. I believe we've booked this client about a little over 5 meetings so far in literally the past 3 days that we've been working with them. They actually had a meeting today that they said was a super good lead, went very well. So it's good to see obviously early results for any client, and obviously it differs depending on the actual offer, but I just wanted to show some proof to you guys first. But let's kind of get into the main principles. So first, I want to start with our A through H, as you can see here. So number one, when it comes to working with any client, when it comes to fulfilling for any client, we have to think, right, what is it that they care about, right? What is the main concern? Now, number one is going to be speed. Speed kills, right? So requests and questions turned around same day, nothing sits in a queue, right? Like, you should be super fast and super attentive, right? And this goes into B, right? Being super attentive. Any questions that the client asks, you're always getting back to them. And how we do this, how we give our clients the best experience, which I would highly recommend, is going to be a Slack channel. So this is where you're going to be able to communicate with the clients. This is where you're going to be able to give them weekly updates. So super important that you have a Slack channel where you're able to update the clients, or maybe a response comes in and you have a question about it. You want to verify with them as far as the person that you potentially might throw on their calendar. So Slack is super good to be able to communicate with your clients. So you definitely want to make sure that you get a Slack setup. Now you want to make sure that you're fully set up as well, right? So infrastructure, sequences, and reporting built out completely before you ever ask the client anything, right? So you want to make sure that everything is obviously in place, everything is good to go before you start asking any questions. As I mentioned, if you do ask any questions, it might be about like a certain response, or how would you like me to answer this, right? How would you like me to go about this question, right? But everything should be fully set up. That is our job, to make it as frictionless, right, as autopilot as it can be for the client, right? All they should have to worry about is the calls on their calendar. Now, professionalism, this is going to be huge, right? You want to be professional, right? It's very important, like the reporting, the way that problems get communicated, having good communication. You want to be as professional as possible, right? And obviously we're going to match that with speed as well. Like, you want to be professional, but you want to do it fast, right? You don't want the client waiting a day, 2 days, 3 days to get a response, right? A perfect relationship is going to work where both the client and yourself are super communicative, right? Everyone is super professional. Is going to be the best experience for both parties. Now, very important, you want to set up weekly meetings with your client as well. This is super important too. Now, some clients are super busy, so they just prefer like a weekly update where you just send them like a text in Slack. But weekly meetings are super good just to kind of go over data, go over performance, go over copy, different angles. You always want to keep the client in the loop and keep them up to date, right? Like, they should always know what's going on. They should always know what the data is looking like. And obviously it's their industry, right? Like, the more details that you can tell them, the more feedback that you can give them, the more feedback that they can give you, and be able to improve our process of actually getting them results. Now, another big thing is going to be proactive updates, right? The client should never ever have to ask you first, like, hey, how's it going? How did today go? any luck. Like the client should never have to reach out for you and ask you how things are going, right? Like you need to give proactive updates. You always need to be updating the client, even if it's a bad day, even if things did not perform that day, even if it's a bad week, even if it's a bad month, right? You have to be transparent, and I promise you your client is going to prefer you being transparent and being open with them versus you just literally going ghost and being in the dark and not telling them anything, and now they have to reach out to you and ask you like, hey, how are things going, right? That's not what you want. Even if things aren't going accordingly, right, or things aren't going how they should be, you want to communicate that. The communication is going to be the biggest thing here. Now, testing the offer is super, super important, right? You want to test at least 5 different variants, and as you see here, like I was going over with you guys, these campaigns are all different offers, right? Different angles, different copy. Obviously what they're providing is the same, but we're phrasing it in a different way. We're attacking it at a different angle, and we're trying to see like what resonates the best in the market, right? What can we get? Like we're essentially comparing, right? Like as you see, this has a 3.87 response rate and a 10% interested response rate, but then we have this campaign right here that has a 4% response rate. Like the stats are better both ways, right? Like the reply rate is better, the interested reply rate is better. So essentially what we're doing is we're going to go through all of these and we're going to look for the outlier, right? And we're going to see, okay, which one performs the best, and then we might take 3 of those that perform the best, right? We'll take 3, and then we're going to make different variants of those, and then we'll run those, and then we'll take another 3, right, until we have something that's actually like working, and then we could just take that and run with it, right? So make sure that you are testing different offers until you have validated an offer within that niche. Okay, now getting into our 8 main variables, this is how more structure, right? So you want to have the client, so first going to be onboarding, right? This is going to be as soon as payment goes through, as soon as proposal is signed, right? You do not want your client having any type of buyer's remorse, right? Like I said, right? They value speed. Everything has to be done with speed. Everything has to be professional as well. Obviously, this all ties in to these 8 principles here. So onboarding is going to be, you're going to have them schedule a kickoff call. So this is going to be with you. It's going to be a kickoff call walking through how everything's going to work with the next 3 months, 6 months, whatever term that you guys are running. You want to give them updates on what that's going to be like. What are some things that could potentially go wrong? How are you going to fix those things if they do go wrong? So the client has a good understanding of what's going on and what to expect, right? Now you're also going to have them fill out an onboarding form, which is super important, right? You need this because you need to know their ICP, right? You need to know who you're targeting. You need to know what type of copy you're going to use, what type of variants, what type of angles. And in order to know this, you need to have a good detailed list of who their ICP is and who they're actually looking to have conversations with. So onboarding is going to be super important in that aspect. And then onboarding will also be like getting them inside of the Slack. Like for us, we have a trigger where we'll send them the kickoff call so they can book in their kickoff call. It will invite them into the Slack so they get Slack access immediately, and then it'll send them over the onboarding form, asking them all the questions that we will need to make sure that they get the best experience and most importantly, the best results. Now, number 2 is going to be the infrastructure, right? Obviously, this is on your end. This is literally, you cover this from A through Z. So this is going to be warming up the domains, the emails, everything that you do for yourself. Obviously, you're just going to have to do that for your client. Now, the amount of volume that you choose to start your client off with depends really on you. We start every client off with at least 5,000 sends a day, but like I said, it totally depends. And then as you start to scale, you can obviously up volume from there, but that's essentially what we do. Obviously, you could run whatever you feel like would be best for you. Going into list building and data, right? So obviously super simple, exactly the same process that you do for yourself, but you're going to be doing it for the client and you're going to be doing it for the ICP that they gave you. Now, obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a different process depending on the client, depending on who they're trying to reach out to. You might have to get creative, right? You may not just be able to go into AI Arc and go into Apollo and just do a general search, right? Like you might have to get creative, right? Which is the fun part, right? Trying to essentially what we call cracking the offer, right? Trying to see where we can actually find these people, where's going to be the best spot, the best place to get the data, where's their ICP actually hanging out. So that's going to be super huge, right? And while the infrastructure is warming up, while the domains, while the inboxes, while everything is warming up for those first 2 weeks, you should be focusing on list building and data so that by the time, like I said, right, what do these clients value? What is going to make your product good is speed, right? So as soon as these domains, that's already 2 weeks that we're wasting, right, warming things up. So as soon as everything is warmed up, immediately you should already have a list of data already copy written to get going ASAP, right? And to start sending and getting right into it. Now, I already kind of touched on this, but personalization and copy should all be good to go. You want to obviously spin tax all your emails, all the good copy stuff that we already know. Obviously, those copy rules apply the exact same for the client. No links, no photos, none of that inside of your emails, right? Plain text. So super simple, right? Obviously, the same exact copy that we use for ourselves, we're going to be using that for our clients, like I said, but you're just going to be using different variants. Of course, you're still going to spin tax your emails. Nothing's going to change there. Just the angle that you're coming with your copy is going to look a little different, but the key principles and the key core of copy is going to stay the same. Now, campaign execution is obviously super important, very important. You know what you're doing, right? Make sure that you're not just like, first day in, you're blasting every single domain that you have at max volume, right? Obviously, we want to ease into everything. Like, you do not want to cook your client's deliverability. And another thing, when it comes to buying infrastructure, you don't want to, like me, for example, right? If I'm doing 5,000 cents a day for a client, I'm not just going to buy enough to do 5,000 cents. I might buy enough to do 7,000 cents, right? So that if maybe some domains burn, right, it's not, because remember, 2 weeks to warm things up. So if some domains burn, I could kind of rotate, right? So that the client is always constantly sending, nothing ever gets stalled out. So that also comes down to campaign execution, right? We always want to make sure that the stats are healthy. We want to make sure that we're sending a healthy amount of emails per day, per inbox, per domain, so that we can go ahead and make sure that deliverability is good and we're actually landing in the primary inbox. Okay, now reply management is going to be huge. This is a little example right here. So obviously like the biggest thing that you're looking for is, of course, replies, and then to interested replies. But interested replies don't mean anything if we're not booking them into meetings, right? So for example, right here, a bottleneck, right? It gave me a random number, but we'll say 57% of positive replies never get a response, right? That has nothing to do with volume. That's literally just making sure that you're responding to everyone, right? And obviously, as volume starts to increase and now you're focusing on responding to your clients' emails, you're focusing on your own emails, right? I would highly consider hiring someone to be able to, so you can delegate that task, right? And make sure that the client, and then obviously yourself as well, that you're getting the best possible response. You don't want to let any email go untouched, any email where you just don't respond, right? That is absolutely a no-go. Reporting and communication, obviously we touched on this a little bit. Setting up those weekly calls, always reporting the stats, the data, the dashboards, literally everything, so the client is always in the loop. Now, retention and expansion, right? Book calls become case studies and proof, which obviously shortens this next sales cycle and supports renewal or upsells. So that's why you want to do good work, right? You want to get your clients results. You want them to be happy, but if they're happy, then they should have no problem doing a case study for you, which obviously helps you in the future for getting even more clients and building trust, right? So it's going to make the sales process easier for you. So you should want to get results for the client, just because obviously you bring value to someone else, you're going to make money, and you should want to actually bring value to someone else. But at the same time, right, obviously you want that case study. You want them to be able to say good things about you. You want to build up that reputation. So that's going to be super huge here as well. And obviously you want your client to renew, right? You don't want clients churning. Like, you want to make sure that your clients are so satisfied with what you're doing. They want more. They want to continue to renew. For example, for us, we run like a 90-day pilot just to actually like give the client proof of concept first, to actually able to, like, they're actually able to see meetings populate onto their calendar, right? They're actually able to taste some of those results. So we're not locking them into anything long-term yet, right? It's just like a 90-day trial period, essentially, a pilot, right? And then if they like the results, right, then they could go ahead and renew for like a 6-month period, right? And obviously that's what you want. And if you do good work, that's what you're going to get. So I hope this video helped, but that is client fulfillment, right? Obviously we want to make sure we're doing things fast. We want to make sure we're doing things professionally. You want to have those weekly meetings. You always want to give updates to your clients. You always want to do everything in your power to get clients results. You want to test different offers, different copies, different variants, like literally just straight testing until you found that winning thing, that winning copy, that winning sequence that you could just take and run with. Obviously, the more results you get, the better feedback you're going to get, the more trust you're going to build. You're going to have clients renewing. You're going to be able to bring in more clients, right? You want to have that Slack channel. You always want to be communicative. But yeah, I hope this video helped you out. If you have any additional questions, feel free to drop those in the comments below. I'll also go ahead and drop my Instagram. I'm always pretty responsive on there, so if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those there. I do post on this channel weekly, so feel free to like this video. Go ahead and subscribe if you like the video and you're interested in more cold email content. But other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.